Freeformers, what are we about? Well, we're about this, and you might be thinking, what on earth is that? And that's exactly the point. So we are a digital skills training company. We work with a whole raft of corporates right across the UK, delivering hands-on, face-to-face workshops that really just simplify and demystify everything that we've talked about today and everything that you wish you knew but didn't when it comes to digital. We do that under the banner of making digital easy. But we do a bit more than that. So we are a corporate business, but we also have a social edge and a social enterprise. So for business people, we run fast-paced, hands-on, really immersive workshops that take you on a whistle-stop tour through the digital landscape, whether it's understanding what on earth code is, or how do you build a mobile app, or indeed what is a mobile app, to understanding social advertising, social media, how do you stay safe on the web with digital, and a raft of other core things that really all businesses need to know, and having been in a corporate myself, many corporates just don't know. So we run those workshops there on the left-hand side of that screen. They're really, really focused on driving innovation within corporates, and they're focused on delivering fast results and enabling teams to act really fast, really quickly, and really efficiently. But every time we do that, and every time we sell a workshop to our corporate clients over here on the left-hand side, we deliver exactly the same content to a youth audience for free. So we take 12 kids, we give them the same hands-on workshop experience, giving them essential, what we believe are highly employable skills because our corporate clients are paying for it. And we believe that gives them relevant and useful, ultimately relevant and useful skills they can use, whether it's in looking for a new job or improving their employability chances or setting up their own company or setting up their own mission. And really upskilling them for today's job market. And so we work with a whole bunch of people, and we've even delivered training on Facebook to Facebook, Nokia, Barclays, O2, a whole raft of clients there. And really every time they buy, it enables us to impact the lives of young people. And we've impacted over 1,500 young people so far, and we want to continue to do even more impact. And we will do that by scaling up our business as we have done over the last year and a half. But I wanted to play out a really quick video here, which is some of our trainers explaining a bit more about what we do.
Society, an entity that is forever changing, growing, and evolving. Maneuvering at a pace that is quite overwhelming. And looking ahead can be daunting. So let's stop. Zoom into an individual's life. Could it be that we might find a similarity?
How about someone like me, a dude with a degree in philosophy, wanting a change from unemployability? But how do I explain to the man on the board that philosophy, it's not the career for me?
Or could it be that you're like me, living in a gamer's reality? Games that consumes me, a DS, a Wii, a PS3, anything to escape the world in front of me. Until I earned Chris's trust and gained the skills that were a must.
Or maybe you're an aspiring artist, unemployed, but chasing your dreams. Not sure if the skills you have are the ones you need, but you find creativity in everything you see. Freeformers heard our cries and revealed the most complex disguise to be full of open source supplies with communities that share and like.
With bits of code we all can use to build, create, and meet the needs.
The web gives everyone that opportunity. The web changed our lives and it's better for you. The web is here so we can better we. Josh, Kai, Louis, breaking barriers for all to see. But generally, to avoid breaking. Not right, because that was just freestyle. Thoughts.
So just a little snapshot there, and those were three of our trainers. You met Josh, you met Kai there. Both of those two came through our one-for-one program. Kai through the Prince's Trust. She now delivers training to corporate clients on all aspects of digital, specifically around coding, web development. Louis specifically focuses on social media, social advertising, and we deliver corporate clients workshops that deliver fantastic feedback. and we track NPS, Net Promoter Score, which is just scores I've never seen, well into the high 80s and 90s. But we deliver, I guess, as you can probably see, with real difference, and we deliver that with young trainers who are all digital natives, and we turn these young individuals into trainers who are all passionate about technology from the outset, and they're confident, they're outgoing, and they're committed to making an impact, and they're committed to our one-for-one model for one. So you can see the last one on the right-hand side there is Alex, and I'm going to hand over to you to him now, who's going to take you through a bit of a whistle-stop tour on social advertising. Before I do so, we run 4 workshops. And we're going to actually talk a bit more about that a little bit later on, and drop you guys a mail shot next week actually with an offer to extend an invitation to one of our workshops to you guys for a special deal as association with Founders Forum for Good. So on that note, I'll hand over to Alex.
Thank you, James. Hi everyone. Okay, so you saw from that I'm working with Freeformers as a trainer. Bit of background for me. So I've joined Freeformers to work with their sort of product development and in training. Backgrounds in digital advertising. Says 5, oh, it doesn't say 5 years there, fine, that's a few more than 5. Initially working agency side with corporates, last couple of years with startups, Google advertising, Facebook advertising, etc. So what I'm going to be talking to you today about is social advertising. I just would like to draw a distinction between social media and social advertising. Social media is editorial content that you syndicate for free, Facebook, Twitter, etc. Whereas social advertising is really just the paid element of that. So whether that's placing adverts or promoting content in advert form to get greater distribution. So we're going to be looking at a concept around native advertising, best practices, looking at creative and copywriting, and some advanced techniques on Facebook and Twitter. And hopefully all that's going to do is essentially mean that tomorrow or later today, etc., whether it's your content, whether it's your advertising, you'll be able to use these actionable things to get greater results. So firstly, what do I mean by native advertising? Well, it's easiest actually to consider it firstly in terms of where it sits, because it's quite a simple concept in the advertising space. So this sort of blurred out image here is my sort of Facebook newsfeed, and native advertising sits within the newsfeed. So amongst all of that user-generated or brands, pages you like, etc., all of that organic content that's being created, we as advertisers can place our adverts into that feed. So the idea is that hopefully we'll sit in that feed without interrupting the user. The user can just scroll past if they're not interested. It doesn't disrupt the flow. But what that also means is because it's in amongst all of this organic content, it's not a case of we should just create a typical advert. Actually, if we sort of play to the minds of our users and get into that zone and create platform-specific content, it will get far greater engagement rates, and people will have far more sort of positive engagement with that paid content. And really, the sweet spot is where we can put content out there. I guess some of the stuff we saw, the video content, people don't look at this and think this is some terrible brand video that I have to sit through. Much in the same way when they're scrolling through their Facebook newsfeed, for example, it shouldn't be, oh, this advert's horrible. I'm going to either, close my Facebook account down because this is so awful that adverts are appearing there. Actually, this gives us a real opportunity to put really engaging, interesting content there. And as a brand, you'll clearly reap the rewards from that, but it can also be quite a positive user experience also. So native advertising simply refers to in-feed, in-stream, whatever you want to call it, paid media. So, as I say, here's a few examples from my Facebook feed. I'm sure all of you guys on Facebook will have seen this many, many times. So that's all well and good. We can place adverts there, that's fine, everybody knows that. But the key thing here is how do we get the most out of that? How can we optimize our performance? How can we use creative techniques, copywriting techniques to really ensure that content gets the most out of it? So that's what I'm going to have a bit of a whistle-stop tour through right now. I'm going to pick out a few books, a few blogs as I go through. It's really just, what I want to just give a bit of an overview so you guys can go away and look for yourselves. A lot of this content's online, or indeed, ask me later, no problem. So there's sort of 3 concepts here around, the concept of sort of 3 elements around native advertising. So the first one here is platform-centric. So here's some social media networks. Maybe you have a profile on all of them, maybe only have a profile on one of them. But they're all very, very unique unique sets of users, unique expectations, unique types of content that are going to work better on some platforms and less on others. And if we start really looking at the individual platforms and seeing what works best on those platforms, we can optimize that and really get the most out of what we're putting out there, whether that's editorial content or indeed in a paid format. So for example, on Twitter, and these are the stats I've pulled out, people have done research. If you look online, you'll find a lot more research, and indeed with some of the data sort of things we've looked at today, it's probably better if you can go off your own data if possible, but if not, you can use some of the sort of, the stats people have pulled out. So, for example, on Twitter, research shows that your tweet, if you have a tweet that's around 100 characters, it will get more engagement than 140 characters. If you tweet a photo, it's twice as likely to get retweeted as a video. If we look at Facebook, the best optimal post length for a Facebook post is 40 to 80 characters. So really, really slimmed down. And if you can imagine, if you're a user and you're scrolling through all of your friends' content and this brand piece just sits there, if it's a lot of text, if it's heavy, you've got to really read it to understand what's going on, the likelihood is you just scroll past or scroll down, you get rid of this content out of your view. So 40 to 80 characters, and photos get a lot more engagement on Facebook. If we look at Pinterest, I've seen some stats that suggest if you pin red or orange photos, lean toward red and orange, they're more likely to be repinned, and horizontal images will get better engagement. Sorry, vertical images will get better engagement than horizontal images. So there's all these little niches within the platforms which, if we as businesses look for and understand and bring back into our own practices, you'll get far better engagement from essentially the same content that you'll be putting out there. So here's a bit of example to bring that to life. This is a post from a Facebook page, Zeitgeist SF. Now, what they've done here is just it's for a bar, but they've mentioned the bar's name and put a link to their Twitter profile on there. So Facebook says, oh, this is a link, I'll post it as a link, and this is what the user sees. Whereas if you contrast that over here, this is a photo that someone says, right, we're going to put a photo on Facebook. It speaks for itself. It's far more in tune with what users want to see on Facebook. It's visually appealing. It sells a lifestyle. It's a fraction sort of Instagram-esque. But the key thing here is, and if you sort of look at the fan numbers for these two pages, so Zeitgeist have 4 times as many fans. It's not many. I think they've got about 8,000 fans. So these guys have got 4 times as many fans. And if you look at these two posts, and this is quite typical, Timber Yard had 4 times as much engagement. So here we can see 9 likes, Timber Yard 23 likes, 1 share, and a load of comments that I couldn't fit on the screen. Now clearly, we spoke a lot about shareability today. For me, and we're going to get onto it a bit later, with some of the really breaking publishing sites that are doing really, really well on the web at the moment, it's all around sharing. So likes can signify interest, but actually, maybe I speak for myself, if I could get 100 likes or 100 shares, I'd go for the latter every time because it's distribution of your content, it's getting out to a new audience, and that's clearly very useful. Either way, on Facebook, likes, comments, shares, but just understanding what users are wanting on Facebook and delivering that content in a format that's most interesting to them, there's clear differences. So the second point here is you're creative, and I kind of mean by that by the image you use and the copy. And the key thing here again is around shareability. There's so much content out there on the web that's absolutely brilliant that you see it and you think, I just want to share that. Unfortunately, there's obviously far more content that you look at it and you think, okay, maybe I like it, maybe I'll just browse past it. But this is not something I would syndicate to my friends, recommend to my friends that they must see. So a couple of examples here. I think I've been a fraction half perhaps on Persil. It's perhaps difficult to sell washing powder, etc. through social media. So they've plugged into sort of chocolate cupcake day and they've said, who would you share this with? The image is on brand, like color-wise, it's not bad. It just feels a fraction patronizing and perhaps not particularly interesting. It's not particularly engaging, I feel. Likewise, on this side here, Dove Men's Care, it's kind of the same sort of low-level content. It's quite patronizing. It's not valuable content to anybody, realistically. It's sort of, they've said here, if this post gets 5,000 likes, we'll smash the pumpkin. I mean, that plays to a certain audience, but it kind of feels you're underselling yourself and either way sort of baiting for likes. I don't even think it's actually allowed on Facebook. It's not particularly great, and I don't think it's going to be the next meme that flies around and everyone's, oh, this is fantastic, you're going to smash a pumpkin. Just a bit bizarre. But either way here, the key thing is creating content that people naturally want to share. It's uplifting, it's really engaging content, so people think, yeah, I will share that. Coming back to the concept of native advertising, if you just understand the platforms you're on, understand your users, and it's quite obvious in some respects, these are not going to be the best examples. A couple of nice examples here. So this is Lego. So the first thing you notice, it's on brand, which is great. You know, this thing from Persil could have posted this cupcake. So could Nike. So could Burberry. So could Founders Forum if they wanted to. Anybody could post this content. This Lego stuff is far more on brand. It's quite nice to, imagine the possibilities. Very short text, great. That fits in with your 40 to 80 characters. You've got this little Lego dinosaur, and I don't know if you can see it at the back, but in the shadow is a T-Rex. And again, imagine the animation. So Teenage Mutant Hero, Turtles. I think that's the right one. On the left-hand side. So this is engaging. It's fun content. It's far more likely for people to think, actually, that's really cool. That's quite inventive. That's quite creative. Okay, I'll share it. I'll like it. But particularly, it's on brand at least. And additionally, here is Stella Artois on the left. It's never a mistake to play Stella Artois as your centerpiece. Okay, that's the irreverent, slightly arrogant. Belgium, we're Stella. This is a premium beer. And on the other side here, General Electric, power. It's what we do. So, whilst that might not be a cupcake that appeals to everybody, if you're liking General Electric and you like their content, a sort of massive power, electric generator thing, that probably plays into what you're interested in. It's on brand, and it's quite just an interesting image nonetheless. So a couple of examples of there, how a few tweaks and a bit of thought, you can get a lot more out of what you post to Facebook. Perhaps, as we saw on that graph earlier, the trough of disillusionment, maybe you're here as opposed to here, or indeed some of these examples. So think creative, think on brand, and think what are your audience actually going to be interested in. It can be hard to brainstorm good ideas, but they are out there. Finally, copywriting or copy strategy. So this guy, Robert Cialdini, anybody recognize him or heard of him? So a few people, a few people. I'm going to imagine a few people have heard him. His seminal book, which is, I feel, a must-read if you work in advertising, I think it's almost a must-read if you're just alive, Influence the Psychology of Persuasion. So in this, he did a lot of research, looked at how a lot of people in sales roles deliver influence over somebody else or influence somebody else into doing something. So he did all this research and distilled it down to 6 fundamental principles. And I just want to run you through them briefly now. Now, in some of our workshops for freeformers, we worked with one of the charities as sort of one of our example use cases, and we give our participants a strategy to use. And it's amazing, just looking at this strategy, looking at this charity that's looking to get people to sign up to a petition. If you use some of these strategies, I'll point the 2 out as we go through, the cost per conversion, i.e. cost for perhaps someone signing up to the petition, or at least just clicking through for more information, plummets. So you can take the same advert, same rough line of text, same landing page, but just lacing in a few of these influencer mechanisms massively improves your performance. So if you're writing copy, whether that's for adverts or just general, bear these in mind. You can't lace them all into every piece of content. You might not be able to lace any into a piece of content, but when the time comes, always pull on them. I would recommend that, or at least test it, because the likelihood it will sort of supercharge your campaign. So these are 6 principles for exerting influence over somebody else. So first on authority, perhaps obvious. If someone turns up in some sort of suit and they all the gadgets and all this stuff, you perceive them to have an air of authority, and we naturally have a sense of duty towards someone in authority. So if someone says, I'm in an authority position, I'm in an authority position, so you jump, you're more likely to jump because you perceive that authority. So for your brands, how can you get a sense of your authority across in what you do? How can you get people, for perhaps example, in the fundraising industry, how can you get that sense of we're doing what we're doing, we're raising loads of money, we're not going to waste money, this is all going, it's all going to be really actionable and make real change, and we're the people doing that more than anybody else. Secondly, commitment, otherwise known as sort of continuity, there's sort of play between the two. So this list relies on the fact that we have a deep desire to be consistent within ourselves. So if someone says to me, "Hey Alex, do you want to go for a beer tomorrow?" By the time tomorrow comes, 4 p.m, even if I'm not really feeling like I actually want to go for a beer now, the fact that I've said it before, I've made that commitment, and I want to be consistent is likely to influence my decision at that point to actually go on and go for a beer. So an interesting thing with here is, and with these influence strategies, you have to sort of, I guess, be careful with them because you can be a fraction devious if you want to, but probably shouldn't. So for an example here is feedback, or at least a sense of getting someone to make a small jump first and a bigger jump second. So if you want feedback from somebody and you say, "Can you fill out this massive feedback form now?" they might look at it and say, "Oh no, I don't have time. See you later," click back. Or perhaps you say to them, "Tick this box if you'd like to give us feedback." Think, "Okay, I'll give you feedback, tick the box." An email comes through the next day, says, "Hi there, you ticked our box saying you would give us feedback. Please can you now give us feedback?" So in my mind, I'm now thinking, I did tick that box. I want to remain consistent with my commitment. Okay, I'll deliver that forward. Another example is test driving cars. Everybody wants to get you to test drive a car or try on clothes in a shop, because once you've got the clothes on, you're in the car, you're more likely to buy because you feel a sense of commitment now you've tried. You feel less likely to step back and not make that purchase. So there's ways, clearly you can lace that into a whole range of campaigns, and it's really interesting the ways you can do that. There's a lot you can do there, but the key is small jump first, bigger jump second. I think probably gaming industry is a really interesting one at the moment with the sort of freemium models where you can play first without paying anything, but actually perhaps you then pay more and more as you start playing this game 3 months, 6 months down the line. Next up, liking. So this concept is quite simply, if you like somebody or you feel you're similar to them, you're more likely to be influenced by what they say. So this thing, I think, ties really nicely in the sense of native advertising, because if you're a brand and you're posting a load of stuff out onto Facebook, and actually that's not the type of content that most people would expect or indeed want to see on Facebook, that means you're not particularly similar to your users. So that's probably why we see some of these GoPro videos, low budget videos, just engaging conversational content really flying, because it's you're coming down to the user's level, not down to users level, you are on the user's level, and there's a sense of, okay, I like this brand more now, they feel more similar to me, so I'm more likely to take a note of what they say. Next up, reciprocity. Classic example, perhaps you're at home with your partner and you say, right, I've washed up, therefore you've got to take the rubbish out. Simply, I've done something for you, therefore you owe me something back. And clearly in business and just in life, it's nice to do things for people and not expect anything back. But actually, we are sort of wired in a sense that we feel, okay, someone's done something for me, so when they say, oh, I did that for you, please do something for me, we feel, okay, we should do. So again, for brands, it can well be a case of just giving and giving and giving and giving and giving until the point you say, actually, we've given all this stuff, great content, etc., could you just, give us £3 for this cause, etc. So it's a sense of giving first and just pulling on that slight reciprocity lever later to try and get something back. A really good book that mentions reciprocity and indeed native advertising as a whole is called Jab, 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 Right Hook by a guy called Gary Vaynerchuk. If you've heard of him, you know he's a legend. If you haven't, I would check him out. And that's a good book nonetheless, native advertising. But his whole principle is around give, 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 and then ask for something back. In this case, buy a book. Scarcity and urgency, you'll see this absolutely everywhere you go. Time boxing an event, whereby the user can only get it on 5 minutes left, fine. Only acquire it on favourable terms. They're going to more likely buy right now. I'm going to absolutely run through this because we're running out of time. Social proof. If you have people signed up, tell other people that. Social proof relies on the principle of, if others have already jumped, I will then jump myself. So the two we used for this campaign, which really, really reduced our cost per conversion, were scarcity and urgency. Act now, you must act now. and social proof. 600,000 people have already signed up. Why aren't you doing the same? Next up, God, this is going to be tough, 5 minutes. I briefly want to talk about headlines. So classic quote here from David Ogilvy. On average, 5 times as many people read the headlines as read the body copy. Vis-a-vis, it follows that unless your headlines sell your product, you've wasted 90% of your money. So if you're putting content out there, whether it's articles, paid media, etc., make sure your strapline is absolutely killer. A couple of sites doing this really, really well have built their whole business out of it at the moment. In the content space, that's very difficult to do. BuzzFeed, Upworthy, etc. You probably see these posts spammed relentlessly around Facebook. But really what people are doing there is saying, I want to click, and now I've read, and now I want to share. If you can get 100% of people doing that for your business, that is absolutely fantastic. Clearly these guys don't get 100%, but it's nowhere near, but more than average. So looking at headlines, how you can do that, lists. If you just say 10 ways you can save time today, people love that. It's a package list, it's a consolidated format. That's going to get far more people clicking on your headline, reading your content, or clicking your ad, going through, perhaps signing up. Next one, the curiosity gap. So if I say to you, here's how I increased my fundraising pitch in 30 minutes, that's far more likely that you're going to then click on that and read, as opposed to if I said, I increased my fundraising pitch by doing X, Y, Z. And it's that curiosity gap that gets people over the line and says, oh, I just want to click that, fine, and now I'm reading, engaging with your content. Finally, the double benefit, how to win friends and influence people. Quite simply, 1 + 1 = 3 if you have a double benefit. Preferably, they've got to sort of have some synergy, but that is far better than saying how to win friends or how to influence people. So why of all of this? Well, over the last 10 years, click-through rates on banner ads have fallen to practically nothing. Additionally, running alongside that, everybody's lives are spent doing this. So if you're not in the stream, i.e. you're not delivering native advertising, you've probably lost 75% of my time. If I look at my life, where do I see adverts? On Facebook, on Twitter, as I walk around, but I don't see them as much on content sites because I'm not there anymore. TV, I preferably skip the adverts, etc. In-stream, in-feed, native advertising is the place to be seen. And if you're not there, you've got to be wondering, where are you? Because that's where the users are. That's why people are jumping on native advertising, because if you're not in that feed, you are out of sight and possibly out of mind. And if your competitors are in sight and in mind, that's going to cause problems for you later down the line. Get involved, test it, see how these platforms can work for you. You will need them in the future, if not today. And additionally, if your competitors are there and figuring this out, that's going to cause you issues. Last section, just running through it. Social advertising, so some advanced techniques. So I've talked then about simply just sort of putting sponsored tweets or newsfeed ads on Facebook, i.e. native ads coming through people's feeds. But there are some more advanced things you can do. So what I've gone through here is just some of the advanced ad formats that Facebook and Twitter offer and put it against business cases. So if you want to download mobile apps, you've probably done this from Facebook anyway, but it's 2 clicks and the app appears on your phone. As someone who works in advertising, if you want to drive app downloads, Facebook is the place to be right now. Strips all the other competitors, Google's offering, etc. This is the ad unit you want to use. Very similar ad unit on Twitter, slightly harder to get going with. Facebook's the easy place there. If you want to re-engage old customers, so this is called Facebook custom audiences. It's actually very, very easy to put together. But if you've got a database of 10,000 plus, if you've got less than 10,000, probably not worth looking at it. Certainly the more the better. You can take email addresses or mobile phone numbers, upload them to Facebook. Facebook then sort of hashes all the data and finds the users, compiles that as an audience, and you can then serve your ads against that audience. So that means you can say, hey, you gave us £3 last year, can we have £3 this year? Or something along those lines. Really good for engaging people who have been customers at one point, and you can send them specific tailored content within the newsfeed on Facebook that's really going to stand out to them and with a message that's direct to them. If you want to find customers who are similar to old customers or existing customers, that is lookalike audiences, which was mentioned briefly earlier today, but simply you upload your data You create your custom audience, then you press a button. Facebook analyzes the characteristics of that audience and maps it with a new audience of fresh people called a lookalike audience, and you can then hit those guys up. So the idea is that, these guys convert really well. I would like more of them. Thanks. Here's my lookalike audience. If you want to get more leads, Twitter have launched a product called Twitter Lead Cards. It's a really nice format. So here's the tweets, promoted tweet, and it should appear like this, or it will just drop down. Either way, you can just click this button, and now you will get the user's email address, so you can target them with your email outreach. But really the point here is that it's just a very, very easy way for users to sign up. They're already logged into Facebook, so they don't have to type out any forms. They just click whatever you put. I mean, people have put join the club. It could be sign up, join now, etc. Click that button, and they automatically send their data to your database. That would be name, email address, Twitter handle. So that's a nice way to quickly get leads if you're looking for something like that. I wanted a different creative options. So this is the final thing here. I just want to briefly talk about this. So this is what we do in some of our workshops specifically. We get 12 people in a room. They all run their own ad campaigns. So own ads, own landing page, and we track all of that against conversions. And it's just really interesting because with social advertising right now, you can do it from a budget of £1, literally. You can serve your ad and be live within 15 minutes. It's incredibly simple. I think we're walking 12 of you through that just in a moment. You will be amazed at how quick, simple, cheap, and easy it is to serve ads onto these networks. If you do something like that, perhaps you find out that one of the creatives is far better. I say perhaps you will find out one is better. I guarantee you'll find one is better. When we run this, some people walk away with a cost per conversion of, say, 50 pence against the record that we had, which was £75. The variation is massive. Clearly, you're looking for a cheap cost per conversion, and it's very hard to second guess these things. So if you're going for a big above-the-line campaign, etc., you're walking blind, and once your adverts are out there, it's hard to change them. Spend a couple of hours putting some ads out on Facebook, and you get a really good idea of what's resonating and what isn't. Interestingly, I've heard some authors actually using this, serve 10 different book titles as ads, spend £100 and see which one gets the most clicks, and they'll name their book against that ad. So this is a fantastic way if you want to sort of hack some growth for your company. Use Facebook not as an advertising tool, but as a live, real-time testing audience, and you can target your ads to whoever you want to target them to. So we've covered platform-centric content, really key. Look at the stats out there, figure out what is best to place on the platforms you're on, and then you can optimize further from there. Native creative, think what are people really looking for, what are they going to share, and how you can deliver that content. Zeitgeist versus Timberyard. Clearly Timberyard had a winning strategy there. Copywriting, so think of those influencer strategies and look. So for copywriting, Copyblogger, Unbounce, Kissmetrics, Buffer, really good blogs, particularly Copywriter, if you want to understand how to write really good web copy that's going to get people clicking and sharing your content. And finally, some advanced ad types. Down there. There we go. Thank you.